Truly, there are some vocal folds that are just anomalies and just gifts unto themselves. But for most of us mere mortals, it is not a good idea to do affectations or a ton of impersonations. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Onyie and this is Onyie Sings. Welcome everyone. If this is your first time coming by, thank you so much. I don't know what brought you here, but I'm so glad to have you. And if you're returning, as always, yay! Welcome all ye faithful returning visitors. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. So today's lesson, what is the harm in affecting your voice? Well, let's start with what affect even means. Affect is not effect. Affect means to change something, to put change upon something. So what you're doing when you're affecting your voice is changing your voice. It's an action. It's a verb. Not the result of change, which is effect. Affect is actually creating the change. So if you affect your voice, you are creating change to your voice. So we want to do our very best not to ever affect your natural voice. I got the idea for this particular video from Ariana Grande, weirdly enough. I was watching an interview where she was talking about the fact that she had to stop doing all her impressions that she usually does, and she can do all those incredible vocal impersonations. And she was told by her voice teacher that she needed to back off on all the impressions she was doing because they were changing her voice. They were harming her natural voice.
I was doing them all the time and it's actually really bad for my voice.
Oh, really?
Like I actually would, but like using my voice in a way that is not natural.
Yeah.
And sort of like mimicking sounds that aren't natural to how my voice usually comes out.
Is that because Brittany does that weed grunt all the time?
No, this is how her voice comes out.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So like if you try to make yourself sound a different way,
yeah,
your voice can sometimes get a little like swollen or irritated.
And when I saw that interview, it immediately spoke to me and I realized I want to do a video on this because that is something that is always coming up in voice lessons that I teach and is always a really important thing for me to make sure that my students understand. When you come into a lesson with me, what we are working towards is your healthiest voice. We want to get you to get to your healthiest voice. And what I find often, especially with younger singers who have grown up listening to particular artists and wanting to emulate their favorite artists, is that it takes a while for them to realize what their natural voice even is. I had to do the same thing with my own voice because I was one of those children who affected my voice all the time. I was really interested in opera, so I was doing a 30, 40-year-old opera singer's voice when I was 14, 15 years old. And because it was helping me win competitions and things like that, it was being reinforced that it was fine for me to do that, but it was actually incredibly unhealthy. A lot of younger artists, you kind of find an artist that you really, really want to listen to or really want to become, and you begin to emulate that tone that you hear. And unfortunately, that tone is not necessarily yours. And in doing that, you're creating a harmful environment for your natural voice. When I have any student in my lessons who has a tendency to lean towards a very particular artist or a very particular sound that's not their own, that's the first thing I focus on. How do I find my natural voice, you may ask? Well, that is a very good question. It is hard to know what your natural voice actually sounds like because we cannot hear our own voices the way they actually sound to everybody else. I think I've gone over this also before in previous videos, but I'll explain it once again here. When we speak, what we are hearing is our sound resonating in our skull, in our head. So what you're hearing is a mixture of the sound bouncing off the walls and the air in front of you and around you, as well as bouncing off the walls of your skull. So that makes the tone of your voice, the sound of your voice, very, very different than what it actually sounds like to everyone else outside of your head, who's only hearing it in the space outside of your head. So the best way to be able to find out what that actually sounds like is to listen to a recording of yourself. That's the closest you can get to hearing what your natural voice sounds like. Another trick that I would absolutely only do when no one's around is cupping your ear. So you can take your hand to the back of your ear. I'm just gonna mess up my hair here. And if you cup your ear like so, you'll have a better idea of what the sound is like when it's going outside of your body and back into your head. So that also helps give you a better idea of what your actual voice sounds like. And even as I'm doing it now, I'm hearing, wow, my voice sounds healthy. That doesn't often happen. No, it should. It should. Another way to get to know your natural voice is listen to yourself singing. Now, because you possibly are creating a voice on accident, just due to the fact that you're used to emulating a particular artist, to the point that now that is your voice, the best way to get a better idea of what your natural voice may sound like is singing something like Happy Birthday or your ABCs, or something that you don't connect specifically to an artist, that you can have a better idea of what your voice sounds like singing. When you're doing that, if you find that you feel helpless or you feel lost in your own voice, that is also a good idea that you've possibly been using an affected or somebody else's voice when you've been singing. There's no springboard into a vocal quality you can use. You just have to use your own voice. And if you don't know that voice, it will feel like almost like using your left hand if you're right-handed. There's something that doesn't feel quite connected and you can't quite figure it out. This is why it's so important to really begin to know your natural voice, especially if you want to use it in a professional capacity. And a part of that reason is what this whole video is about today, the harm that can happen to your natural voice if you don't use it properly. And if you start booking gigs and making a life out of using somebody else's voice, that will turn into possible long-term damage to your actual natural voice. I'm going to touch on 3 main harms that come from affecting your natural voice. First, tension. When you're affecting your voice, you are most likely creating a sound that your body wasn't made to create. Your body was made to create your voice. So the muscles, your musculature, your skeleton, your structure is made for your actual voice. So when you're affecting your voice, creating a different tone or timbre or quality, there's a very good chance that muscles in your body are having to work in a way that they are not made to work, and therefore work harder. In some way, shape, or form, you are likely creating tension to affect that change, to affect that quality in your voice. You never want to create an environment where your muscles or your body in any way has to work overtime to do something that should be natural in your voice. We always want to aim towards free singing, freer singing. Anytime that we can take tension out of singing, that is the healthiest your voice is going to be. To the next point, in taking tension one step further, you can actually do harm. If you create an environment of tension, there's a better chance of there being an opportunity to damage your vocal folds in a way that is irreparable. One result of too much tension in your vocal folds or overuse of your vocal folds, possibly because they're being used in a way that's unnatural, any of that stuff can cause swelling in your vocal folds. And swelling in your vocal folds can also cause tension in other muscles that are in your vocal anatomy, because other parts of you have to work harder to make up for whatever is happening with the swelling in your vocal folds. But then also swelling can lead to hemorrhaging, which can also lead to callousing, which is what we all fear. Let's say it together. Nodules! Nodes. Yes, we all want to stay away from vocal nodes. And swelling in your vocal folds can very easily lead you down the path to vocal nodules. And affecting your natural voice can unfortunately do that. And the third point I want to hit is that it can actually change your natural voice. Doing all the affectations, the impersonations, and all those things, while there can be a way of doing it skillfully, and there are some people who are gifted in doing it. Some people just have vocal folds that are made to do things that not all vocal folds can do. Truly, there are some vocal folds that are just anomalies and just gifts unto themselves. But for most of us mere mortals, it is not a good idea to do affectations or a ton of impersonations or just create a new voice for yourself. My biggest fear with this would be doing permanent damage to your natural voice. And what I mean by permanent damage is anything that may cause you to have to get medical intervention. And having been in that position, having already gone through surgery myself, I would not wish that upon anyone. Just do your best to not have to go under the knife or under the laser as I did. The sooner you catch it, the sooner you can start rehabilitating your voice. If you have gone that far off from your natural voice, the sooner you can start getting back to your natural voice without having to get medical intervention, getting the healthiest voice you can possibly have. The homework for today's lesson. I think this is similar to the homework I said in the previous video, but yes, record yourself. But this one's purpose is just to get to know your natural voice. I was really excited to get to do this video in particular because it is something that does come up quite a bit in my vocal lessons that I teach. And just in life overall, I am constantly pushing knowing your natural voice and singing in your natural voice and speaking in your natural voice.
Can I get a smoothie around here? I'm sorry, I do not...
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I said I don't know where you'd get a smoothie around here at all. I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay, thanks so much.
Yeah, no worries.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I just want to give you my card. I'm not a vocal coach anymore, but I would make an exception for you because you sound like a squeaky toy. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean, like, I think you're better than that. You know what I mean? And I think we're all better than that. It's good for the species. You know what I mean? But there's also a Jamba Juice like 2 blocks away from here if you wanted to, because I bet you were looking for a smoothie. Maybe not. I don't know. But if you were...
The more you can know your actual voice, the more you are able to express yourself through your voice, which is very exciting. It was an exciting thing for me to discover some things in my voice that happen when I give up and give in to what it naturally does. Emotionally and skillfully and what have a. I was discovering things that were flowers in my voice that I was not aware of, and I'm so glad that I found, because now these are little things that I know I can do that I enjoy also listening to. Thank you all so much for coming by. If you're still here with me, thank you so much for staying till the end. Feel free to share this video with anyone you think will be able to take something from it or enjoy it. And speaking of sharing the video, we have a playlist you can also share or just peruse yourself with all the voice lesson videos right here. All the tips and tricks at your fingertips. And don't forget, IRL, I am a voice teacher, and I am teaching private voice lessons on Whereby, Zoom, and all those online platforms you can think of. So feel free to reach out to me if you're interested in taking voice lessons as well. Thank you so much for coming by. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and say hello there. Bye! It smells so nice. Who sprays perfume for a video? I do. So today's lesson, what is the harm in affecting your voice? I feel like my hair is doing something odd. Okay, I can't. This is why I do the raps, because I don't have to worry about anything on my head. Especially if you want to use it in a professional. Especially if you want to use it in a why can't I say in a professional capacity? I'm trying to say both words. I feel like I was leaning that whole time. Was I leaning? Ah, for crying out in the rain.
Well, for crying in the mud, what is all that noise? Well, for corn's sakes, give me a gee-golly break here now.
Ah, for crying out in the rain. Going to, do you like the things that life has shown to you? Where are you going to? Do you know? Do you care?